out of 10th, which does mean a lot for the promo relegation tournament at the end of the split, where they are almost certainly headed, but can certainly make their lives quite a bit easier. TSM, keep in mind, Liquid and Energy right on their heels. Both 8 wins, TSM sitting on 9. Getting some space, some room to breathe would be quite nice for them because they're playing Immortals and Energy next week.
And the Zed ban very early from TSM. Ninja is a very well-known Zed player, so TSM taking away their ability to counterpick something Bjergsen would bring in the mid lane there.
Yeah, problem for TSM, they only get 3 bans, not 4, so you can't ban all the ninjas out of the game, guys. Zed is not enough. Shen, Akali, and Kennen still exist.
Yeah, and that's what Ninja's going to bring out next.
Yeah,
he has
the
to
Akali mid, the Bruiser Akali that we haven't seen in competitive.
Stay true to his lore. Clearly.
Exactly. He's only allowed to play Energy Champions. But yeah, Corki also off the table. Nidalee, Kalista, Renegades just... It's interesting as well because we know Crumbs is a good Nidalee. We know Freeze has a great Kalista. But they're just kind of chopping things off the top that, though both teams can play it, they really don't want to give TSM. No Kagi for Renegades, so I wonder what this leaves up as the exciting first pick here. It could be Gragas with Nidalee gone. It could be a Nautilus, as always.
Yeah, Nautilus is trending upwards as far as what is willing to be first picked. A lot of the other power picks are taken, and surprising number of target bans here. LeBlanc and Zed I would both consider as target bans in this matchup, which means we have more power and flex picks to come through. Gragas is one, Heimerdinger is not one, Nautilus would be another.
Maokai is not an early pick at the very least.
Alistar and Braum are things that people are fairly willing to trade as early power picks.
Yeah. And Rammus, I don't think you need to rush because of what other champions are still available here. I think you can kind of trade that equally with Nautilus and just pick something else stronger, or that is strong, kind of earlier in the rounds here. Early Lulu for Bjergsen does kind of fit the profile of things that you might want to first pick here.
Yeah.
And that will be the lock-in here. So TSM, a Lulu flex to start things out.
Yeah, Lulu's fallen off on a lot of teams' tier lists, but TSM did have a lot of success with it yesterday. But it was paired with the Kog'Maw, which they are not able to pair it with today. I do think it's going to go mid, even though it has the chance of going top lane, just because that's what we've typically seen from Bjergsen.
And the funny thing is, yesterday they paired that Lulu with Kog'Maw, which they've actually now banned here, so they can't run the same composition exactly. I still think Jugger Jinx is very good. We got to see that in China, actually, and it was played very well by PentaQ, who just crushed people with IE Shiv Hurricane, just rockets all over the place. It was great. Just freaking decked people. It was great. I think Jinx super happy. But Renegades, once again, second time in a row, an early pick on the Graves here. Wanted to give that to Seraph. Crumbs gets the Gragas with the Nidalee gone. Does give them the highest priority jungler left in the field.
I still think there's a lot of potential for Graves. Seraph has had a lot of success with it. Wasn't a huge fan of the way he completed his Death Dance build yesterday, going for a Bloodthirster where I would have liked to see a Phantom Dancer, but it's still a very strong pick in the right hands, and it doesn't really give anything fully away. I don't think there's many things you'll pick in lane to be like, oh yeah, now I can't play Graves.
Yeah, Seraph, his third Graves game in a row, a win over Dignitas and a close loss to Cloud9, though even in the loss he went 3-0-6, if the stats are correct here, so Seraph's certainly been good at the champion. We'll just see what else he can do.
Although when I say that I don't think there's many things you could pick in the lane that is like, oh yeah, now I can't play Graves, they were hovering Rammus earlier. So like, that would be a thing that you could pick and then say, now I can't play Graves.
Rammus definitely can mess with Graves, but now look at this one. Braum picked up, no surprise there for support, but yes, we get another Jhin. So our third North American LCS AD carry to bring this one out. Sneaky did pull a win with it earlier, but now Doublelift gets his chance to bring this champion now, and I want to know what Doublelift does with his champion. It's more about skill shot accuracy than your raw mechanical talents, so I want to see his take.
Yeah, I don't think that Lulu Jhin is particularly a great combo, so I'm thinking the TSM will need to round out the rest of their team comp with someone who can really benefit from Lulu move speed or picks.
Right. You either need a bunch of burst or like more engaged tools so that Jhin can set you in, or like more pokes so that you can just whittle people down.
Yeah.
Ooh. So Bard coming in for Hakuho. The Lissandra picked up here for Ninja as well. They're actually leaving the bot lane AD carry pick for last here, it looks like, for Renegades, which surprised me quite a bit. Bard wasn't going to be contested, nor was the Lissandra. So showing a hard engaged team at the start, and then they're followed at the end.
Same time, Renegades does play very heavily around Freeze, so maybe Freeze wants to see how much dive or tanks he's going to have to deal with since the top laner hasn't been picked yet. So there is still an argument for leaving your marksman for the very last choice.
What's top, what's jungle? What can I play into that, knowing about it?
Because it could be so variant. It
Of
could either be
course.
like a giant tank wall, or it could be a bunch of squishy assassins. You really don't know, because the Lulu could still go top lane, so
Definitely
we could still
can.
be picking mid and jungle. And Lissandra and Bard are two generally good champions, so.
Yeah, they work both offensively and defensively. Actually, Lissandra great into Zed. You just ult him when he goes in. Next picks for TSM, the Elise, the Trundle are going to come through. So Trundle top lane yet again. Haunter making this comp very similar to last time. The same Trundle, the same Lulu. Braum instead of Alistair, and Elise coming now in for Svenskeren. But a lot of these similar picks, Trundle into Graves has been actually quite common now. We saw Balls do that, and now we're seeing Haunter do the same thing.
And I am a fan of Lulu with the Trundle.
Yeah, me
speed
too.
him up to get in range of the pillar, or just speed him up to go smack a dude a bunch of times.
Especially top lane Trundle. I think it does so much more that top lane Trundle is actually a viable damage source on a team. And the difficulty is, well, I can't always get in all the time, but now Lulu can make that happen. And with how popular Titanic Hydra is and how strong the item is in general, you certainly have a lot of threat. Also, I think an understated point in making top lane tank carries more a thing is that steady buffs Iceborne Gauntlet has gotten 2 tanks, their radius being much bigger for champions with a lot of armor. And that's steadily crept up over time now to where if you ult someone on Trundle and have an Iceborne Gauntlet, that is a huge slow field.
Yeah, the final pick coming out for Caitlyn, for Freeze, will be Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Typically, we were seeing some of this in the mid-season where you'd set up the 5 traps and then just go for like a full siege and poke. But the Sandra's not the greatest poke champion, so they'll have a little bit of that. Mainly, I feel like the Caitlyn's just for a wave clear and to try and win lane against Doublet. Very late game, you can get Caitlyn to a point where he can cut through Trundle, but for now, I don't see that as a great shredder of Trundle.
Yeah, Caitlyn's attack speed scaling is actually super low. Her base attack speed is super low, and then like has bonus like attack speed as a stat at level 1, which just devalues all her item builds. So persistent damage-wise, Caitlyn is not the greatest late-game champion. Her range lets her have high uptime, but as far as just breaking things down with damage, she doesn't quite have that compared to someone like Jinx, Sivir, Kalista, etc., the more traditional ones. So a mid-game focused AD carry, I think, for sure. Graves, of course, going to spike on 2 items. I think this is a fairly mid-game focused Renegades team, but a lot of engage tools to use that mid-game to get a lead. And I want to see how much Renegades can do, kind of doubling down to that first 15 minutes and hopefully capitalizing on it. We'll see if they can do it here against TSM, who have felt pretty confident. If you think they can do it, tweet at LOL Esports with hashtag TSM win or hashtag REN win for which team it's going to be. Though Renegades are sitting 2-13, they have started looking good with this lineup. With Seraph on the team, their record is quite a bit better. Maybe they can get into this one. We're going to see what they can do. TSM hoping to close out the season strong on the other side.
Yeah, Seraph's looked very good when he's been in the LCS. Very nearly took down Cloud9, did take down Team Dingertoss in Week 7. So very small sample size, but I think a large amount of success. And Ninja will have the ability to force team fights. So when Renegades did win their game against Team Dingertoss, it was also with Lissandra on their team. So they had plenty of engagement.
Plenty of engage to set up for their marksman in the back line, and that means Freeze on Caitlyn will have to do well. And of course, the man has a reputation as a high damage threat on Renegades, but TSM's jungler Svenskeren has his own thoughts on the player.
Freeze is pretty good. He always gets most damage dealt in the game, which is like, you get pretty scared of him or whatever after you play like, wow, he did so much damage. But if he's not on Kalista or Draven, I don't fear him at all.
And sure enough,
So,
Kalista actually banned by Renegades.
from the man himself, Svenskeren is not afraid of him at all this game.
Yep.
Because he is playing Caitlyn.
I mean, Svenskeren's played against Freeze more than anyone but Yellowstar in this lineup. I spent a whole lot of time in the European LCS. Both players came over this year. And Svenskeren traditionally has gotten the better of Freeze as far as regular season records go. And now we'll see what they can do this time around. TSM dancing back and forth. Haunter and Svenskeren hanging out.
Yeah.
But here comes Hakuho and Freeze to invade on this.
Hakuho's going to see this pretty early. A lot of people have been trying to start Wolves to not get harassed heavily, but Freeze and Hakuho are moving in hard. They're going to
Good smite.
try and push them off, but they actually don't get a single monster, and they are going to be slow back to lane, so they can't guarantee the freeze because they didn't meet the minion wave up top.
It looks like Yellowstar did not stop the Renegade side either, so very equal jungle starts. Wolves got taken without issue, and the players got to move forward. Now, Crumbs on this Gragas up to the top side, gonna feel okay about this one. Similar situation, the Elisa Svenskeren is taking Raptors, and the top laners will rejoin the duos shortly to knock these turrets down. We got some early action with the partial invades, but it will be the standard 3v0 with similar farm numbers.
Early action. They harassed and tried to steal some stuff. Doublelift, the only difference, though, is Doublelift did take one of the small minions from the blue buff camp.
Ah.
So instead of doing a full harass, they were mainly going in for quick steal. But yeah, top laners just going to be pushing. Renegades is first on the turret and can kill him pretty quick because of Graves. Graves is a spectacular early turret trader. Trundle was better, and when his Q was actually applying on the turret and he was just eating them early in the season. That's not the case anymore, so Graves is a faster turret pusher than Trundle.
Yeah, it's going to be quick, but it should still be fairly close to equal. Spell Thieves add some damage. It actually feels really great to be a Spell Thief support and just 8 gold per auto attack. This feels wonderful. Knocking that one down, 314 for that one. And Renegade's actually pushing that wave in very hard with Seraph, making TSM react to them as fast as possible. Spin Scare in, realizes that part of that blue buff was taken by Doublelift, so overall gold kind of the same for TSM. But he kills Gromp in the wings and feels okay.
Yeah, I mean, if Renegades would have wanted to go for a second turret, I think they could have had a lead there. They're about half a turret ahead when they decided to just shove this wave in. Even so, I think Seraph will be able to get it to bounce against the turret. But I think Renegades could have played that actually much more optimally. If they shove in the minion wave immediately after killing the turret instead of bouncing, it crashes in very, very early. And then TSM still would have had to spend another wave or two taking the bottom turret. Instead, Double is able to catch the experience for some of this wave.
And so we saw that also the freeze was broken pretty quickly by the Trundle over there. They had a deep Trinket Ward that spotted that Bard was coming down from the Renegade side. And so we saw Hanser actually shove the wave back out, realizing, yes, when you have the lane swap part 2 and the dual lane shows up to the dead turret, push the wave in because they're going to want to push your turret down. Freeze and Hakaho trying that right now. Set a little bit back by the pushing that the Trundle played by Hanser did. But of course, a similar situation for TSM on the other side. Cole, 5 pink wards for Renegades, by the way. Zix would be proud. They bought their pink wards.
Yes, they did. Well, if Zix was coaching Renegades, he would have reminded them to buy their pink wards. But
these guys didn't need the help. They were taught well.
Yeah, they're pretty quick on this push as well. Once again, the Graves killing it very quickly. TSM up top lane has just the Jhin and the Braum. Jhin did get a little bit of a buff. His 4th shot has a 44% crit on the turret, but he's still pretty slow at killing turrets regardless because of the reload timer. Yeah, and he does 44% less total damage, so it's like a 1.2 damage crit. Like, it's really almost nothing. It just feels good. You get the move speed out of it, but it's not exactly meaningful. So Doublelift slowly whittling it down. They're going to be just fine with this one. Trundle, of course, helping. That's enough attack damage for them. Crits the turret for 68 damage.
Right, it's like you added 15. Congratulations, buddy. You still had to reload. Yeah,
but basically because Seraph kills turrets so much more quickly, Renegades is able to transition to a very early dragon without losing lane pressure. Yeah, double longsword. Certainly, they're just faster at it. And yeah, the turret dies in the top lane as dragon's going down. That's the payment for being a faster lane swapping team, is you get there first, you've got a bit more golden experience. Keep in mind, Seraph hard push top wave before recalling, giving him the gold to get a pink ward and that second longsword. Like, all these things are factors that played into the Renegades just being a bit faster and getting the dragon. Their choices, honestly, I think were very good in this early game. Yeah, lots of really early pink wards, good overall choices. I think just that one tweak in the beginning would be the only thing I'd change out of the way they reacted to the decisions TSM was making. So again, a good early strategy from Renegades. 6 of the first 15 minutes have been pretty clean, but we've yet to see the first fight or the first big mistake. Yeah. All we're really seeing right now as far as leads go, TSM, unsurprisingly, Bjergsen is in fact winning the lane. First pick Lulu, known as a good laner, and also going for the Frost Queens early, just like last time, I believe. So happy to play aggressively into Ninja, push him in, be kind of unafraid. He's running Cleanse, so level 6 won't be scary. Yellow Star with a mechanically intensive battle with a pink ward. Close one, I know. Yeah, and speaking of that mid lane too, as Renegades continues to take the neutral objectives, Bjergsen forced, so to speak, Ninja into a defensive build with the early Negatron cloak, but is instead just going for the full greed build on Lulu, very quickly going for the Frost Queens for the gold generation. This Rift Herald, though, is interesting choice by Renegades. They get first Dragon, first Rift Herald all before 7 minutes. And normally when a team does this, they pay for it with lane farm. right? This actually happened against TSM in their game yesterday, where we looked up and Doublelift was 30 CS ahead of the opponent 80 carry. But that's just not the case here because Renegades has done it more efficiently.
They have, absolutely. Haunter not allowed to land on the top side of the map. Of course, there's a Caitlyn and a Bard, and now, you know, the rest of the team. And keep in mind, again, Renegades will be faster. They've got the Graves. They've also got the Rift Herald buff. Yeah, TSM can probably match turret damage, but they're 20 seconds slower. They're facing a huge wave of Rift Herald.
That's
Renegades
huge.
are faster at this.
Yeah, Renegades can very easily push down for an inhibitor turret. Unless TSM sends everyone back, they're trying to finish the turret to avoid a big loss, but they're only sending 3 people down, and those Rift Herald minions are gonna push fast.
Rift Herald, Graves, Caitlyn, Renegades are faster at this. TSM continue to play the 3v0 game, except the other 3 are better at the v0 part of that equation. An extra turret kill for Renegades from all the choices they've made, not to mention the dragon they also picked up.
Lane
Really
swaps,
well done.
lane swaps, lane swaps. Well, Renegades has put in their practice for sure. And they know that the strength of the Graves Caitlyn is just a faster pushing team than what Jhin can offer right now. I could kind of see the argument for TSM to be okay with turret trading because Caitlyn is a lane bully and they're dodging that, and Doublelift is technically getting more farm than the Caitlyn. He is also stacking up his call. And I think TSM thinks they are superior in team fights as well. So a lot of times trading turrets is a way to just safely get to that. But that's the cost, right? They now have an exposed inhibitor turret less than 9 minutes into the game. Yeah.
I know you have, Jack. We've done this before together, but did you guys ever play that like the 5-man push game? You like pick Sona Ezreal, you all walk top lane at the start of the game, and you just kill inhibitors as fast as possible? That's basically the better version of this. Like, Renegades have just done a really good job of stacking up some of the best early turret pushers and getting a ton of progress done here. Seraph will so kindly give Ninja this blue buff, saying, you know, I worked hard knocking turrets down all day, but I will still give you the buffs in the jungle. Seraph really can do it all. He's like the Kale of Renegades.
Selfless Seraph. And I think they're going to try and continue this turret push. Finally, TSM is matching Caitlyn with Jhin, and he's going to be able to catch this big wave. So this will actually put Doublelift at about a 20 CS advantage over Freeze.
Well, so a lot of it's been sort of where the farm is going at. Double's going to have a ton of gold, and he'll be really happy on this Jhin. Part of it was Seraph taking a lot of farm that would have otherwise gone to the Caitlyn. Really good last-hitting mechanics in a turret. Properly sets up all of that. But now Renegade's looking for a cheeky play on this bot side. It turns out everyone just recalls away, so no gank. It's just the minions getting attacked, but hey,
they should shove.
That is a dead minion wave and maybe a dead turret.
Yeah, they're really late on this one. Bjergsen has cleanse, so he can't teleport to the turrets. Svenskeren does not have wave clear either.
Oh, that's going to be a turret. I can't see TSM stopping it conveniently. Maybe they can with this. The root on a crumb. Snipe 1, snipe 2, snipe 3. 100% accuracy with curtain call so far for Doublelift, though it was blocked on purpose by Ninja. As Sansa keeps moving in and forcing the flash away from Hakuho, who's lost a lot of health now. Mid lane turret does stay alive, but is dangerously low. Yeah,
a lot of times the Jhin ultimate can be used to start a fight. He gets one root into the ult and then gets most of the damage down, and that's enough to push now Renegades onto the back foot. And Seraph is still in the top lane, so TSM could get this. Seraph teleports into the turret behind, actually.
Gragas only to buy some time. Now the block in from Braum, plenty of damage. Svenskeren puts a flash up, but that means now Yellow Star is stuck in front, unable to defend himself. Kill goes to Hakuho. Kill for Renegades, though, overall. 1,000 gold lead.
I got faked out by the double teleport. Ninja is the one who teleported onto the inner tier mid turret, and Seraph is the one who channeled this teleport on the turret that was actually getting attacked. As soon as TSM realized they couldn't finish it, it was too late to kill the turret and stop the teleport. So big first blood there for Renegades.
And that means they can go right down to Dragon in 20 seconds. They've been stacking those since pretty early on in the game. And if they can keep control, it's a nice way to secure that your mid-game advantage means something. Dragon 2 plus Caitlyn, guaranteed turret poke, especially if he goes for rapid fire cannon second here for Freeze. You can really double down on making sure that push works. And, you know, that just might be what's exciting here for Renegades, is trying to make that mid-game work. So far, the early game, check mark. The wish has still been granted. They're doing solid.
Yeah, even the first time Renegades played TSM this split, they had a large gold lead against them as well. This was the game where Freeze was on Draven.
Oh, yeah.
But then Renegades ended up making a bad Baron call. Doublelift picked up a quadra kill on Callista en route to 13 kills. But just picturing that game again, it was very chaotic after Renegades controlled the early game.
That was a lot of damage coming out of the double lift poke. The Q hit 2 champions, and he managed to land the root right as quick draw was going off. So Seraph a bit injured, getting some heals from Hakuho. But then double lift took some poke back. Of course, Deathfire Touch makes you pull aggro for a very long time. Jin is an even worse sieger because of that.
But Deathfire Touch, totally worth it.
Totally worth it.
The ultimate. Just
really
adds,
scares you with
late game, it's adding like 300 damage to each shot. It's
Oh,
crazy.
yeah. It's a 0.6, I believe, bonus attack damage ratio, which is a lot when you have 500 bonus attack damage by the end of a game. The math adds up 300, by the way, if you were curious. We lined up well there, Jet. Good job, us.
Just picked a number at random. That was incredible.
And then I found math that suited it. Synergy. We should be on duo queue. We'd win.
Would we?
I
don't know.
I would game the system. I would just tell you what to answer regardless of the question, and just be like, "What's your favorite food?" Blue. He said blue. Woo! That's what we would do. Meanwhile, Hakuho,
Not allowed.
not in this one. It's Hanser versus Crumbs. Hanser runs, gets knocked back
nice
right
ult.
into Seraph's waiting arms. The body slam as well. He has flash, doesn't choose to use it. But just mean that a dragon goes over to TSM, but a cost for the top laner.
Yeah, lines up right for the Rift Herald for Renegades, so it ends up being a objective trade. Would stop the overall 5 dragon stacking. I think it was generally smart of Hanser not to use his flash, but not smart of him to be there in the first place. Kind of solo walking through enemy territory without any deep wards or vision on the team. It was a well-placed ultimate by Crumbs to help secure the kill.
Super good stuff. Super, super awesome here for Renegades. They sit now almost 2,000 ahead of TSM. The dragon stacking, I should say, was slowed down, which I don't know if it's going to mean a whole lot here. It's just a consideration to think about. They got the first one so early, but now that pacing is going to be off. Freeze actually rushing for early Berserker's Greaves, so is really going for a damage-focused build. This is going to be as DPS possible as he can get. And, you know, Freeze is going to have to be one of these carry threats, of course. Plenty of farm on him, and we'll see what he can do with it. Svenskeren said he wasn't really worried about him if he wasn't on Draven or Callista, but Caitlyn has damage uptime, and that can matter a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah. And the dragon stacking can matter as well. It hasn't mattered much for most NA LCS teams, but I do feel like Renegades is a team where it would matter more, only because they've had so much trouble actually closing games that having that insurance policy of getting stacking dragons and being ahead, maybe getting 5 dragons to win the game, is huge, but the longer the game goes, the more chance they would technically have to make a mistake and lose their lead.
Absolutely.
Which, by the way, they again have a 2,000 gold lead.
Yep. Slightly missed Little Lance there. Good dodge by Freeze. Now an invade towards the top side jungle. Svenskeren and Yellow Star in tow. Trading wards in the brush. They won't sweep that just yet because they want to knock down the mid lane turret, but they don't do too terribly much damage. A root onto Freeze. Deathfire Touch on him. Double Lift slowly whittling some damage in. A nice knockback. Repel comes in from Svenskeren, but Hanser's the target. Miscommunication. Bard stops the Caitlyn damage. The barrel doesn't even get exploded. That could have been some more free damage coming out, but here comes Ninja.
Or not.
Chooses to remain stealthy in the back wings. Another root comes in.
Ultimately, I think a wise decision of Ninja not to take that glacial path. Yep. Suboptimal support AD carry synergy, I would say, right there. Hakuho, man, what are you doing?
Getting hit up, traffic cone in the way, but Ninja says, I'm gonna save you, buddy. And again, Yellow Star is the one who dies, walking too far forward, getting caught up. He thought he could set up for his team, but just sacrifices himself for nothing.
Yeah, 3rd kill of the game for Renegades, and I agree with you. It's support 80 carry synergy, just not quite there. Your damage dealer is way back there. You don't need to be up there blocking with your shield if you're Yellow Star. Hakuho also cost a lot of damage onto Hanser when he tempered fate the ace in the hole earlier. 3,000 gold lead, it just continues to grow for Renegades.
And Double Lift is going for the Essence Reaver build here, so really, again, less focused on hard carry, more focused on the spells coming out. A great root sets it all up.
Yep. Yellow Star just kind of jumps in front.
He's trying to save Hanser.
Straight into a Bard stun.
Yeah.
If he hadn't have jumped to Hanser, I don't know if the Bard Q would have even hit the wall. It could have just been a slow.
Yeah, you're right. I think he wouldn't have been stunned. I mean, maybe Ninja could have followed up on him. It's tough to say. I think he may have saved Hanser's life with everything considered, but certainly it's Yellow Star dying. That's still 450 gold.
Absolutely.
Okay. Renegades once again back on the siege game. Ninja's ulti already back up, actually. Plenty of cooldown reduction on him. 20% from items, likely more from runes. And once again, we see the teams walking back into the mid lane.
Yeah.
like it's Howling Abyss.
TSM is going to continue to try and siege right now. Meanwhile, Seraph is growing a CS advantage in the top lane that would eventually be able to use to dual trundle, but as of now, Death Dance versus Titanic Hydra. If Haunter had Boots of Swiftness, I think he'd win the duel, but he does not. So Seraph would be able to just kind of kite all around the trundle. Therefore, they're grouping in the mid lane, but against the Caitlyn traps, they're really not able to get any ground in that mid lane.
Really just trading back and forth, and the occasional kill comes through. Renegades have been occasionally picking off champions, but it's TSM hoping to hold the line, right? They know Renegades' goal is this siege, this mid-game Caitlyn. The traps come down, he's going to do what he can with this one. And Caitlyn not doing anything is not the worst thing in the world. 3 points in traps, did finish maxing Q first. I've seen players actually put more points in early to max that earlier on in the game. Not the case here for Freeze, standard stuff, max Q.
For sure. Gotta get that wave clear out.
Yeah.
And we're again in the situation. Obviously, Renegades doesn't have a huge lead, but they're in a position where they do not look like the worst team in North America, which is what their record dictates as 2-13 team. And they've had all of these hopeful starts, which would be encouraging for Renegades as they move towards the promotion tournament, because if they're sticking with mid or even sometimes top tier teams in the early game, then one would hope that with enough practice of that on stage, they would be able to close a victory, right? I feel like for the team's morale, it's absolutely critical that they pull an upset before the year is over. And again, they are in position to do so.
Yeah, they'd got one over Team Dignitas earlier on. If you, again, use records as the indication of who's supposed to win, which got them their second win, and maybe they can get up to 5. That's the high point there for Renegades with 3 games to play, including this one. Freeze once again holding the mid lane, but look at that Ninja split pushing quite nicely, getting a lot of farm on him. 203, actually. He is well ahead of his lane opponent of what would be that Lulu, of course. Ninja's getting plenty of the farm, and Devil's been kind of getting all the mid lane farm. It's taken away from Bjergsen. Of course, he scales better with gold, so why wouldn't he be?
Yeah. I mean, all that 5-manning in the mid lane for TSM has starved out Bjergsen a little bit. He still has the gold generation from Frost Queen's Claim, but not enough, and they don't mark him before he hits
Freeze gets hit, then flashes, spurn summoner heal.
There's the support synergy with the AD carry right there. Hakuho
good
putting
ult.
Tempered Fate down on a double lift as Freeze was really scared of the curtain call.
And even still, Freeze lost both summoners for that play, so Spooky goes from Bjergsen into the Fate's Call, making it pretty nice.
Yeah, but the next time TSM sieges up here, they will have to deal with Ninja, who is setting up for a flank. He also has teleport on the Lysandra. And also big minion wave down to the bottom lane, so he might just try and draw Trundle attention.
TSM just lost wave control here. Bot lane is already under turret and still not cleared. You're seeing Hanzo show up now, but Ninja can do some damage, slow him down. Now he's got to claw away from the pillar. He's taking a lot of punishment. And Hanzo still has flash, but he won't do much else. Mid lane actually goes down in the 4-on-4. Nice stuff here. Freeze gets a shield, walks away. He's going to feel fine. Brawl used for basically nothing. Mid lane finally goes down. Renegades got the rest of the chip damage they needed, and are now 4,000 gold up.
Yeah, and Renegades is winning wave control overall. That's one of the big reasons they've been able to get that advantage. Of course, the push bottom lane to take Trundle out of the fight, and then they push very strong as 4 in the mid lane. But while all that is happening, they already had a wave pushing on the top side. So at this point, they have teleport on Seraph. He's going to shove that into, by the way, what is an exposed inhibitor. So if they get enough minions up there, they could actually create inhibitor pressure with that giant minion wave. Or Seraph can teleport down. But Hodge is going to have to be in base to essentially deal with what could be a giant wave crashing into their inhibitor.
Yeah, it's going to have to come really soon. Problem is, Dragon being up, right? There's just different sides of the map that TSM are being pulled to, that Renegades are just playing quite a bit smarter. Does not land the flash, but he still lands plenty of barrels. Doublelift running out of health rapidly, and in comes Ninja. Who are they going to focus? Yellowstar blocking a bit of damage, now flashing away to stay alive. Hakuho goes down to Sven Scared as he kites away. A lot of damage from Freeze, can't quite kill him off though. Snipes in the side from Doublelift, nearly takes down Crumbs, and he does do it! Lands the entire curtain call, but a trade kill still comes through as Ninja knocked down Sven Scared. Overall, 2-for-1 advantage TSM. This is now a 4v3 on the map, but many recalls forced, and as Trundle backs up, some more damage on a Ninja.
I think that fight comes way more down to execution than it was the call to fight. We look at the way Crumb starts it. He misses his body slam, that's a lot of damage down, and then he can't direct perfectly where he wants Doublelift because he actually wanted him closer to Seraph. He knocks him into what is his only retreat path. Doublelift from Bjergsen can then run away up the top side, and then Seraph even missed his Q on the very top. All the while, Bard is getting focused down. Doublelift then lands every single shot of his ultimate. And Ninja very easily could take down Svenskeren because all the spells are point blank. But that was a fight I think Renegades could have won if executed properly. It was smart to take.
Absolutely true. So, Renegades, unfortunately, execution kind of being just that for them as they lost an extra kill in that fight. Static Shiv crit, easy wave clear for Doublelift as he knocks all of this down, and Essence Reaver Shiv is the build once again here. That spell-focused stuff should be nice for him. Lichbane now picked up for Bjergsen, makes him a good turret killer. It also makes him very fast, and he's got 30 cooldown reduction just in items right now, so a lot of shields coming out from him. We'll see how much the build matures. It's low ability power, but he's got damage tools and pick tools.
Yeah, this is the same build Faker uses. Faker, his most recent best of 3 in Korea, he played Lulu all 3 games and always did Frost Queen's Claim, Lichbane into a death cap. So we'll see. A lot of times I notice Bjergsen favors Void Staff very early in a lot of his builds, but on Lulu I expect him to go death cap as well.
Void Staff's definitely a great cheap damage item, but not just doing damage here on Lulu. Couple of hits of damage onto Crumbs, but he is very tanky on this Gragas. Yes, he's got Runic Echoes, but he's building tanky from now, and just withstands damage quite well. So he's fine to hold the front line. The sole tank on the team, really. Seraph getting plenty of damage down to the bot lane, leaves well before anyone can show up to him. Renegades continue to play the map control game much, much better than TSM. TSM described SKT as a brick wall when nothing they did could really work. Well, Renegades, certainly a durable enough wall to keep TSM out right now.
The Renegades to SKT comparison, not what I expected.
Only in that they're both walls keeping TSM out.
Yeah, okay.
In either case, Donald Trump is happy with the performance of the team
Both
against
teams
TSM.
held the goal lead on TSM. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Keep politics out of the cast, Freak.
I'm just, it was just a wall reference.
Stay away.
I'm sorry. I wasn't going for anything major here. I apologize. I won't bring it up again. TSM, either way, are behind.
There we go.
Renegades hoping to do well by the end of the split.
Yeah, and they're continuing to put pressure inside TSM's territory. TSM doesn't have a great way of fighting back yet. Hanser is the
Speaking of
tankiest
fighting
person.
back, Hanser just taking his licks. Oh, no! Bjergsen absolutely crushed by Seraph and a little bit of damage coming to the mid laner. The siege and the wave clear and the minion control continuing to work. Now a knock-in right onto this Elise who has nowhere to go except into the enemy team. Bartlety misses, still another kill picked up. Crumbs holding the front line, does not even care about damage coming out of Jhin. And now bot lane tier 2 will be going down. Renegades continuing to absolutely crush this mid game.
Yeah, this is looking more and more like an upset. We're past 20 minutes and Renegades still increasing their goal lead and still letting it fall away.
Renegades' chance coming out here. TSM losing to a 10th place team is not an expectation. They
No,
beat
definitely not.
one of the top 2 teams in China last week.
Did they?
Oh, was it?
No,
it was. They got over through Ever.
Yeah, that was
Sorry,
Fnatic.
I'm backwards.
It's close.
Just kidding.
Either way, Bjergsen takes a bunch of spray damage from Lysandra as he's walking into Seraph, but then just uses a few spells on him because he was mainly worried about saving Hanser with his ultimate and a missed body slam by Crumbs. But it's all right. He knocks Svenskeren backwards anyway. Bard ultimate at least pushes Doublelift back even if it missed Yellow Star. And then they're able to walk back towards the turret and pick that one up.
Yeah, to correct myself, TSM had taken down Origin and Ever on their way through IEM Katowice.
Never got a chance to play a Chinese team.
Did not have a chance to, you're right. They unfortunately lost that Ever game that would have been the battle against Royal, I believe,
Yep, very true.
in the final of that one. Unfortunately, that didn't happen there. TSM had a rough late game slip up, and now Renegades, the very next week, starting to really take it to them. The team that had nearly dethroned Cloud9 in the top of the standings, now looking very good for much longer, I would say. It's been controlled. It's not been, a bunch of haphazard fights. They're out-rotating a team piloted by Yellow Star. And it's super encouraging.
Yeah, well, a lot of the questions about TSM are wondering whether or not the team is actually piloted by Yellow Star and how crazy their communication can be. Bjergsen, a very vocal person. Yellow Star, maybe not as powerful of a voice within the team. Whatever it is, the team obviously does not look as clean as the Fnatic team, which was apparently piloted by Yellow Star. Obviously, Huni and Reignover had a lot of input on that team as well. But TSM, they've had glimpses of being cohesive. But once again here, they do not seem as put together as so far in the first 20 minutes of this game as Renegades, who has been rotating better, understanding their team composition strengths better. And then here, a Brawlmore from out of nowhere.
And this is not good for Devil trying to get away, trying to stay alive. Brawlmore goes down. Yellowstar with another death in this game. Seraph tanky enough in the front lines. Svenskeren goes down as well. Freeze getting the credit for that one. A 2-for-0. Renegades continuing to win their team fights, play the map control game. 6 turrets to 4, 8 kills to 2, and now they look at Baron.
Yeah, and this is the moment where their previous game against TSM was lost, is when they went for a Baron after a small fight and then turned it around. Here they're trying to bait out a fight instead of going straight for the Baron. I think they're trying to take this one very slowly.
And Ninja can teleport. He recalled back. He's got the home guard buff, and he is a Lysandra, which means there are scary things afoot here.
They waited out the scouting tools, although they're doing it on top of a ward. They just now killed the ward, and TSM's going to try and stop them.
There's still an array of traps out there, poke back and forth. Will they get the chance to steal? Not at all. Crumb secures it, and Hanser maybe doesn't even want to be there. He's going to drop for this one. TSM contesting in a 3v5 without a jungler. Why even try? It's 2 kills for absolutely no reason. We're TSM there. An easy pickup. Renegades getting farther and farther ahead.
And Yellowstar super late to the party, also puts up his Unbreakable Shield in the wrong direction so he can't block the Gragas ultimate that knocks him back towards the team. Now 5v3, the open inhibitor, it returns 20 minutes later.
Renegades return to the scene of the crime. That one's gonna drop down, and they're gonna find even more. Doublelift barely stays alive, but you know what? Doesn't even matter, and Hib goes down. Actually, Jin managed to drop. I couldn't see what it was. I think it was a Caitlyn snipe, but that kill came through. A trade kill comes in for Pyrrhix, but he's running out of health really fast. A double for Freeze. Looks like he can do damage even without playing Callista. A double comes in, and they're looking now for the base itself. How about sieging the Nexus?
Trundle is alive, but he doesn't have all that much damage, and Caitlyn is pretty big. Renegades is trying to win on this push, but it's going to be close.
And they just might get to the damage still coming through. Freeze has a Zeke's Harbinger, making him do plenty of damage here in this one, pushing farther and farther into this one. The Nexus turrets are gone. They're re-engaged for TSM, but the Nexus is losing health. Seraph on the back side of the building, whittling it down. Freeze with another kill, and that's the win. A sub 30-minute win. Renegades take down TSM, their 3rd of the split.
That has got to feel great for Renegades. They have had so many early game advantages this year. In well over half their games, they have held a gold lead throughout the mid game. But this time, they pressed it home strong. Freeze, every single time before he goes into a game, even in Renegades, even at one point when they were 1-12 coming into this year, he expects to win. And this game, they did win.
Absolutely did. So Renegades improved to 3 with 2 games to go. They are 1 behind Dignitas, 2 behind Impulse. Those are teams they can catch. They cannot reach 7th. That's not a possibility. They can reach 9th or 8th and move up, be in a better seat to regain their spot in the North American LCS. I mean, they will be in the relegation promotion tournament, but they said, our goal is just to get good enough to make it back in and try again in summer.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you unfamiliar with the format, auto-relegation is no longer a thing in the North American LCS, so 10th place still has a chance to play their way back in, but it is a much more difficult path. They have to win 2 best-of-5s, and if they lose 1, they are out at the very start, whereas 9th place is a much more forgiving road.
Yeah, and 8th even more forgiving. We'll see if they can catch up on Team Dignitas, who have not looked very good themselves, but that's in the future. TSM... This is a team who said, all right, yeah, you know, we got top 4 at IEM. That's all right. We lost to SKT. Well, it's SKT. You know what? That's fine. They're so good. We're motivated. Now you just dropped to the 10th place team in North America. I don't think they are 10th place in terms of skill with this lineup.
We never know,
Renegades are pretty bright, but TSM are a playoff team, and that doesn't look good.
It's hard to kind of peg down what type of team Renegades is now that they've finally put a game together. Still kind of a one-off. This reminds me a little bit of TDK last year when they switched their roster and they won their first game. We're like, maybe they can win all of them. But it's like, oh, that wasn't quite the case. I think it is very concerning for TSM that they dropped this game specifically in this fashion. You know, they picked the Lulu very early. They're like, oh, Jin. But they didn't have that much actual cohesion in team fights. They kept trying to play this siege strategy, even though from a team composition perspective, they were against a team with better wave clear.
Right.
They also tried to siege against a team with Lysandra and were constantly getting caught in team fights. They should have been peeling when they're engaging. Like, that game was a mess for TSM in a lot of different ways.
The only winning lane I think they even had as far as first 20 minutes is concerned is Lulu over Lissandra, which happened. Okay, congratulations, Lulu's ahead. Okay, now Caitlyn's mid and pushing her turret, and yeah, it felt like TSM did not have a lot of hooks into the game, and Renegades took great advantage of that. I mean, I can constantly sing the Renegades' praises here because I think they just made several good choices. The fact that they played a heavily extended lane swap game and eventually went +1 turret because of it. I mean, simple choices like pushing extra wave to allow you to buy a pink core that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Double longsword, using the Gragas, and using the Graves, and oh, by the way, getting the Rift Herald. Like, all of these advantages were gained because of choices they made. Dragon was free because of the early choice made in the first half of the lane swap. Then they knocked extra turret down because, well, they got Rift Herald while not losing anything in a 3v0, and they got extra turret because of the champions and because of the choices they made. These were all conscious decisions made by Renegades that were better than TSM, and the advantages kept growing.
And they also played the team fights fairly well, whether it was catching someone on TSM out of position or funneling in well. There was the one team fight where they actually didn't execute that well, but because it was a smart choice, it was only like a 1 for 2.
Yeah. That was the worst fight they ever did. It was a -1 where they just recovered and just tried again later, and it worked out beautifully. Freeze did super solid overall as a player. His endgame build ended up being Iogen Hurricane into what was a static shiv or a rapid fire cannon next. So just a high damage uptime build, 501.6. Looking at the actual damage chart here, it's got to be super high.
Yeah.
Highest in the game, 18,000. Yeah, Freeze just was the consistent backline they needed.
Yep, Caitlyn, not one of the Draven or Kalista things that Svenskeren is fearing, but we actually have a replay of the last fight that I want to take a look at one more time here because Renegades was so strong. They already had 2 people down, and at this point, they're just trying to get a couple kills because they know if they can get double if down, they can probably end the game. And we were wondering what killed them at the very end of this. It was just an ace in the hole, and no one could get in range to block it. Bjergsen maybe could have walked over. He had his flash. He could have flashed to block that. Instead, he's going aggressively to chase in, but there's only 2 people really alive on his team. Freeze can easily take him down because he's just a Lulu with no armor items.
Yeah.
And then Renegades can continue on. Yellowstar now alone. Haunter comes in, but there's a bunch of melees. Gragas, Graves, Caitlyn, Lissandra can keep him at bay quite well. Really just a bunch of split decisions going wrong for TSM, and Renegades, a team that just got 2 new players a week ago, was looking like they had stronger cohesion down the stretch. Ninja really nice buying of time with the Zonias at the end there. Yeah. And Freeze is able to finish off the Nexus.
Totally agree. So TSM, I think their final defense definitely haphazard. They could have waited for respawn timers. It was early. It's 28 minutes. They could have gotten those players back up and lost top inhibitor, but fought for the Nexus. Multiple 3v5s, dying over and over again. Sloppy game. Renee's taking advantage on a very clean one, but props them for the win. Super deserved by these guys. We'll see what they can do in the last week of play. But for now, I'm going to check in with Dash, who's got an interview with 2 of our winners.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am here with Freeze and Crumbs after what has to feel good, a victory over TSM there for you guys. And honestly, in very clean, deliberate fashion. And the very first thing that I want to approach with you guys, I'm going to come to you first, Crumbs, is that from week 1, we've actually looked at this team and said, and looked at the stats and said, this team has a great early game, right? So something is clicking there. What is it, one, about the early game that you guys understand or have practiced so much that you understand it intuitively and can create these advantages where other teams struggle to do so?
I think a big part of our early game actually just comes from the laners being very good laners. Like Freeze takes a lot of pride in his laning phase, and our solo lanes, be it Seraph or Ninja or Alex or RF or Flares, are really focused on their laning phase, and that gives way for a lot of early plays to happen. So maybe they get somebody low, so you have an early tower dive or really good opportunities to gank. So I think that really comes down from our early game, and then that makes my job very easy to just decide where can I help, and that gets us that early game advantage.
So then looking at this game specifically, Freeze, we saw that you guys were able to get a turret advantage, and it being an inhib turret kind of due to your guys' acceleration of the game in that lane swap. What would you attribute in this game that to the most? Was it champion picks, or was it just that you guys were quicker on the decision making? Where was the advantage gained?
To be honest, both. It was
the Herald.
Yeah, we had a Herald and we had Grace, who is like super fast pusher in the lane swaps. On the first lane swap, we were already faster, so we took Dragon. The second lane swap, we took Herald, and then they decided to not match us, which was their mistake, and we were talking about it. We punished the mistakes. We just decided to push trade turrets, but we have a Herald, right? So we'll push way faster, and we have a Grace on top of it. So we get one extra turret, and then we had the momentum the whole game, and they were just on the backseat, and we could have done anything, and it was just our game to win, you know? It was like they couldn't do much at that point.
All right, so you set yourselves up very well in the early game. This time you did close it out with the lead that you had created. Now, but in the past, that has been a point that has been a failure for you guys. So, Crumbs, what has been your identification as to why you've struggled to close games that you previously had leads in, and how are you working to shore up those weaknesses?
I think a big reason why the mid game and late game a little bit difficult for us to close is because the game and the meta is all about the objectives, right? And then you focus on, say, when you took all the turrets, Dragon and Baron at 7 minutes spawn time and Dragon 6 minutes spawn time, which is a very long time to just be doing nothing, and that gives the opponent a lot of opportunity to catch back up. So, for example, in the Cloud9 game, we rewatched it and realized that we need to be faster with the timings in which we aggress. So, particularly when minion waves crash is a really good time where you push vision or you become aggressive, and that's something that, for example, the Rocks Tigers in Korea are really good at. That they'll often just fight around minion wave crashes more than anything, and that's almost like a 30-second interval, which gives you a lot more action and fast-paced aggression. That if the opponent isn't ready to react to that and they're on the back foot, it's going to be very difficult to come back in. And just focusing on that mentality to look at past just Dragon, Baron, and other turrets makes it a lot cleaner for us.
Finding more instances to fight and not on 6-minute cadences.
Exactly.
Back over to you, Freeze. I want to take a look at the two new players that you guys have, Seraph and Ninja. And really, I just want to know how the chemistry and the dynamic of the team changes with those two individuals and the types of styles that they bring to the team.
So luckily we had 2 weeks to prepare with them, which like in the beginning it wasn't that great of the synergy, but given the 2 weeks, we improved a lot. We started playing well together, and like Seraph and Ninja, they played on TDK before. They have a super nice synergy with double TPs. They always help each other out. So that's like their own mini game there, and we're the free men like on our own side. So we're like split a bit there, but we know what to do in those situations, and we get a lot ahead from that.
Awesome. I do have a pretty minor and mechanical question for you that is coming from a couple of the other guys. They want to know specifically about your Caitlyn trap placement in this game, because more often than not, it was placed in a somewhat like semicircular fashion as opposed to a straight line, which most guys we see walk up to a turret and they just go boom, 5 across. Is there any specific reason that you're creating a different kind of angle with your traps?
Yeah, what I meant by the trap placements, I want to usually angle it towards the range of the tower.
Okay.
So the enemy team has to stand on the other side for us to engage. And then when they have to stand all together there, it's easy to poke by Gragas barrels, Lysandra Qs, my own Qs. So usually when you place the traps like that, they have to be on the other side if they want to do something, if they want to engage, and that's very easy for you to punish their position.
So basically, if I were to go into battle training and get those green and red circles around the turret, you would be lining the traps around those as opposed to straight across the lane.
Yeah, pretty much.
Love it. The last thing I want to touch on is that you guys have been vocal about the fact that you're looking towards the promotion tournament. You're aware of the fact that you're going to have to play to stay in the LCS. And so looking ahead, with this win, you're actually only 1 win behind Dignitas yet. They haven't played yet today, but they are playing a pretty tough roster in Immortals, Liquid, and CLG. You guys have Impulse and Echo Fox up on the docket, I believe. So definite, possibilities for wins and forcing either a tiebreaker or just snagging that 9th place from them. But with this in mind that you're going to have to play with against the challenger teams, what specifically are you looking to do in this last week of play that's going to cement your ability to return for the summer split?
I don't think we care too much about it, to be honest. I think that we know that we're going to have to face the tournament, and all that we want to do is make sure that all our games are like the ones that we just played against TSM, which is really resemblant of our wins that come during scrims. We know how to play the game, we know how to close it, we know all the stuff. And earlier this week, yesterday, the match, we weren't able to do that, and that was disappointing for us. I think it was very heartbreaking that we weren't able to, we got the lead, we did everything right, but then fell on our faces in the last minutes of the game. But this time around, just being able to bring this performance and show that we can do it at least one time should be enough to motivate us to keep going and working our ways to playing every game like that. And hopefully that should be enough to keep us in in for the next split.
There you have it. At least consistency is key, and today's win is proof that you guys can get there. Thank you very much for the interview, and congratulations on the victory. We're going to take a quick broadcaster cooldown, but when we come back, Team Dignitas will face off against Immortals. Sit tight. We'll be back in just 3.5.
I have the Justin Bieber song stuck in my head.
Which one?
The Sorry.
Is it too late to say sorry?
Yeah, I thought it was good.
I'm missing more than just your body.
Grags will buy some time. Now the block in from Braum. Plenty of damage. Sven scared for a flash out, but that means now Yellowstar
Wants to fight. Oh, he
does
missed
not land the flash, but he still lands plenty of barrels. Doublelift running out of health rapidly.
Oh, Grace. I went Bob. Grace.
We're split. Does have a flash then?
They're all pretty chill. Does
Lisa
listen to
to
the
the
left. Player on Jin.
They're fighting.
They're fighting.
Jin.
Good.
Okay, Alice.
Watch out,
Alice. Alice is dead.
Trundle.
Not at all. Crumb secures it, and Hanser maybe doesn't even want to be there. He's going to drop for this one. TSM contesting in a 3v5 without a jungler. Why even try? The Nexus turrets are gone. They're re-engaged for TSM, but the Nexus is losing health. Seraph on the back side of the building, whittling it down. Freeze with another kill, and that's the win.